everyone, it's me, Stuttershock Dave, the creator of Lightning Power Up from MarioKart.com, and today it's time for the top 10 annoying video game characters. Number 10, it's a character who tells you to do things. Number 9, it's a character who tells you how to play the video game. Number 8, it's a character who explains deep game mechanics to you. Number 7, it's a fucking...
When jumping into a game for the first time, it's easy to lose your way or get confused about how the game works. As time went on and games evolved, they get more and more lenient about explaining how the game works within the game itself, rather than relying on a manual which most people ended up throwing away or just ignoring. Generally, all you really need is an in-game hint system. It can be either pop-ups mid-game that explain the gameplay to you, or items that you run into if you need help. But some games like to go a step further and add an additional character to do the work of helping you through your fancy new game. While probably not the first character of this sort, I think Navi is the example most people jump to when they think of helper characters. In the Kokiri forest, every child has a fairy of their own, except for Link. The game opens up to the Great Deku Tree sending Navi to the one fairyless boy. Immediately, Navi is established as the one character who never leaves our side the whole journey. Not only does she guide Link, the character, but as her name suggests, she helps the player navigate to areas you need to go to advance the story. If you need her, just walk around for a little while until you hear her sound cue and hit up C. Doing so while locking onto an enemy will even give you details about said enemy so you can understand and fight them more easily. Now tell me something, your first time playing Ocarina of Time, how did you know that you needed to go to the Kokiri forest after becoming an adult? It's because Navi suggests you do so. Well, yeah, Sheik also tells you to go there, but it's likely that a new player will check out other points of interest, and after that, forget what Sheik told them. So Navi is always there to give you that hint. Sure, they could just have a hint at the corner of the screen and or a marker on the map, but this was 1998, and big open games like these were still new. In an era predating the ability to hit select and instantly warp to any pixel on the map like you can these days, Navi as both a character and guide for the player was truly an innovation. The game even ends with Navi parting ways with Link to represent that now that the game is completed, the player no longer needs the assistance she's offered you throughout the game. You'd think that a character like this, introducing such essential features and being so heavily attached to a game that most people adore, would be fondly remembered. But instead, we only hear people calling her annoying. Why? I don't know, I guess they just think her voice lines got tiresome? I mean, on the N64 with its limited cartridge space, I think being able to add some good quality voice lines on top of a game that was already pretty big for the time is impressive. But to all her detractors, tell me something. What would have been more annoying? Hearing, hey, listen, watch out, and look from time to time, or never knowing where to go at any given point in gameplay unless you pay close attention to everything and never forget anything that anyone tells you. Again, yes, this could have been done in the game's interface itself, but would that have been as interesting or memorable as having a character like Navi? The Zelda franchise in particular uses this trope a lot with characters such as Tattle, King of Red Lions, Eslo, Midna, Seela, Zelda herself in Spirit Tracks, albeit in ghost form, and Fi. Speaking of which, Fi is another character who gets a lot of severely undeserved hate. She keeps telling me to replace my batteries! The Wii didn't have low battery warnings on the system like other consoles did, so having Fi tell you is Nintendo's workaround. Plus, if it really bugs you so much, you have 3 choices. Get some new goddamn batteries, get rechargeable battery packs, or let your remote run out of battery and be unable to continue the game because you were a stuck-up loser who didn't want to take advice from a woman. There's also the complaint that she didn't develop or emote the entire game, which would be a fair critique considering the helper characters that came after Navi were a lot more developed and fit in more with the game's story. But come on, just because she talks all robotically, you're really gonna tell me she didn't grow as a character? She's a lot like Yuki Nagato, there's my obligatory Haruhi reference for this video, in how despite showing little to no emotion in her voice or face, she still manages to be really interesting just from the things she says and does. Even when you first meet her in the game, the way she floats around like that has a really majestic aura to it. Watching her dance through the water at the end of every dungeon was a joy, and her parting ways with Link at the end of the game was a great scene, cementing herself as a permanent part of the Master Sword and foreshadowing the many times they'd meet in the many other games in the series without even realizing it. She didn't need to grow tits at the end of the game just to be well-rounded. Let's move away from Zelda and go to a game that was released the same year as Ocarina of Time, but did a similar thing with the concept. When you start up Sonic Adventure and land in Station Square, it's gonna feel kinda weird, especially when your only previous experience with Sonic was via the Genesis games, which were designed to be much more straightforward and had simpler control schemes. Suddenly you have all this speed in 3 dimensions instead of 2, so what do? Why not jump at the glowy thing up there? Well, now I know I gotta go to the Mystic Ruins. Despite releasing only a month after Ocarina of Time, it was ahead of the curve in a way, as the helper character developed via flashbacks that chronicle the fall of the Echidna tribe, and how Tikal, now existing only as a series of flashing lights that have been scattered by the Master Emerald, try to prevent it. Hey, I just now realized Tikal's dad is a gamer. He ignores everything women say and only cares about his own pursuit for power, killing millions in the process. An inspiration to conservatives everywhere. Anybody who's played Sonic Adventure will tell you it's not exactly the most tightly designed game, but nobody can deny that it was chock full of great ideas regardless. Tikal as both a character and a guide through the story is one of them. Not too far into Sonic Adventure 2, the Master Emerald that was housing Tikal breaks again. So who helps us through the game now? Well, obviously, a bunch of talking robot chows voiced by Bubsy 3D! Yeah, needless to say, Omochao is another cool-to-hate helper character, and that's probably entirely because of its voice. I don't find Lady Vanilla's performance as Omochao nearly as annoying as most people do, but even I can admit that it's not the most pleasant thing you want to explain how to use the Lightspeed Dash. Seeing how you can literally kill Omochao in this game, and how Omochao literally became a weapon in Shadow the Hedgehog, I think Sonic Team knew people were gonna hate it. Though evidently, people liked it enough for it to become playable in Team Sonic Racing. Meanwhile, I still stand that Omochao's best appearance is in Generations and Free Riders, in which it's voiced by Laura Bailey, and I can pretend Toru Honda is giving me orders. This video too kiddie for you, talking about Nintendo and Sega games made for babies? Well then how about we flip the script a little bit and talk about a man's game, about a real war with real guns! While Master Chief is what you immediately think of when discussing Halo, it's not hard to tell that his AI assistant Cortana is the more developed character. She starts out as little more than an informant who relays mission information and story exposition to the player, but as the games go on, she warms up to be a true companion to the Chief, especially in 3, where they spend most of the game apart, which leads to a touching scene where they both go into hibernation after the game's climax. The only problem with her is the parts of Halo 3 where she randomly gets all in your face and slows down your movement. It's always in empty sections where there are no enemies or obstacles to worry about, but it's still annoying to have her slow you down out of nowhere for a few seconds. Not that it really impacts her character, not even negatively. It's also really clever how you meet her creator in Halo Reach, and have to deliver her to the Pillar of Autumn where she'd meet Master Chief. Of course she goes fucking crazy in 4, I haven't played 4, I'm going off the trailers, but for the iconic Bungie trilogy that everyone knows and loves, she's a great character to have by your side. Another classic group of great helper characters is the codec advisors in most of the Metal Gear series, MGS 1 and 3 being the best examples of this. While Metal Gear 1 and 2 did it first, Metal Gear 2 even having some of the same characters, expert voice acting and longer conversations really gave these a lot more spirit and uniqueness. It's always fun to talk it out with Mei-Ling or Paramedic when you save your game because you know you get to hear about another Chinese proverb or old movie. Talking to Colonel Campbell or Major Zero to hear about your current objectives, Master Miller, Otacon, or Sigan to hear about your equipment, it all injects a lot more personality into the information that's being presented to you. Yeah, I'm not gonna sidestep it any longer. MGS2 has Colonel Campbell returning, Iroquois Pliskin, and Rose, Raiden's girlfriend. The first two are fine, but Rose nagging Raiden about their relationship, needless to say, is not the most appealing thing to put into a game. There are still some funny pieces of dialogue to be had, most notably the one where they argue about King Kong, but most of the time, it's just tedious to hear them bicker. Though the end of the game in Metal Gear Solid 4 at least added some well-needed closure. Speaking of which, MGS4 does have codec advisors too, even with full-on video chat, but it wasn't quite as memorable as previous games, and in my experience, didn't even come up that often. And of course, the Big Boss prequels released after 4 had little to no codec conversations, to the point where "Boss, get down!" is the only one anyone really remembers. Oh, but an even better example from another franchise is the advisors from the Splinter Cell series, most notably Chaos Theory. Man, this game is so damn good, I really ought to make a video dedicated to gushing over it in the near future, but I'll try and stay on topic for now. You didn't have to pause the game to get calls from Lambert, Redding, or Grimsdaughter. They were just always in your ear and Sam would talk to them during gameplay, a welcome streamlining of the process without completely losing the charm like the aforementioned MGS5 did. Though Splinter Cell also went in that same direction, but let's not talk about that now. I can't count the amount of quotable lines from these characters going back and forth that I just know by heart thanks to my countless replays of this fantastic game. But one underrated aspect is that if you kill too many civilians or set off too many alarms in a level, the game suddenly becomes a lot more minimalistic with these conversations. Instead of Sam and the advisors talking like pals for 30 seconds at a time, it would just be Sam receiving quick instructions and bits of exposition for like 5 seconds. I guess it's to reflect that the crew isn't as patient or friendly with you since you were doing such a shitty job with your mission. Under normal circumstances, this would make the game less fun and outstanding, But having this chance locked behind such specific conditions that you're unlikely to achieve unless you do it on purpose, which I actually did an entire playthrough of doing not too long ago, or you're just a really bad player, which I was when I first played this game at age 7, makes it much more unique and only amplifies the enjoyment of this game that much more. Okay, let's get back to the baby games by Nintendo, because the whole video up till now has been one big distraction. I made her front and center in the thumbnail for a damn good reason, because she needs to be defended to the death. In the Pokemon Arena fighting game spin-off, Pokken, you get to be a generic, voiceless trainer with an undefined name, face, and gender. You give orders to your Pokemon, but instead of turn-based combat like the games of yesteryear, it's all in the form of 3D fighting action. Except you're not the only one giving orders, because you get to listen to the wonderful, the beautiful, the excellent, the most amazing woman ever introduced to the Pokemon universe, besides maybe Lorelei, Nia. She gives you good advice, she guides you through the story, you can choose a different stat boost for her, you can dress her up in different outfits, more of which added via DLC, which alone makes it worth the price tag, and she's such a sweet, charming character, and yet every time I search her on Google, I'm greeted with this. What is wrong with these people? She's a great character and makes the entire game way better. She made me buy the game despite having basically no interest in Pokemon or fighting games whatsoever, and this is what she gets in return? This is a load of bullshit, and I had to make this entire video defending the category of video game characters she belongs to just to stand up for her. The sad truth is, meme regurgitation has warped people's perception of these great, important, and impactful characters. They see Andrew Hussey's Penny Arcade get reposted on Facebook.com/bestoftumblr saying, Navi is really bad and Ocarina of Time retroactively is a bad game because of her, and instantly think, well, I never played Ocarina of Time, but this guy obviously has, so I'm just gonna internalize it. Someone had to make a video like this, and despite still being a very small internet nobody who'll be lucky to put out more than one video a month, I'm putting my foot down, and I'm gonna be the first one to do this. Helper characters in games are great, have done nothing but add to the enjoyment of the games they appear in, and deserve all the respect from you imbecilic gamers. Now someone please get that quote on Wikipedia! Hey, thanks for watching. I decided to do a little outro here since that's the cool thing to do on YouTube these days. Last minute honorable mention, Chip from Sonic Unleashed. I unfortunately didn't really think about him when I wrote this video, but he's a fun character who also gets a lot of undeserved hate, and I think he deserves a highlight. If Shadow and Silver could come back from the dead, I really hope they'll consider bringing back Chip for a game or two. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter to see what else I talk about, and join my Discord server and talk to me and my friends. Now if you'll excuse me, I gotta get ready for a Weird Al concert tomorrow.